Hello and welcome back to the reading of the Holy Bible. Today we will be finishing Deuteronomy. I know last week I said we would be doing chapters 29, 30, 31, and 32. However, we will be doing those as well as finishing with chapters 33 and 34. Chapter 29. God's favors during the Exodus. These are the words of the covenant which the Lord commanded Moses to make with the children of Israel in the land of Moab. Beside that covenant which he made with them in Horeb, and Moses called all Israel and said to them, You have seen all the things that the Lord did before you in the land of Egypt to Pharaoh, and all his servants, and to his whole land. The great temptations which thy eyes have seen, those mighty signs and wonders, and the Lord hath not given you a heart to understand, and eyes to see, and ears that may hear unto this present day. He hath brought you 40 years through the desert. Your garments are not worn out, neither are the shoes of your feet consumed with age. You have not eaten bread, nor have you drunk wine or strong drink, that you might know that I am the Lord your God. And you came to this place, and Sihon, king of Heshbon, and Og, king of Bashan, came out against us to fight, and we slew them, and took their land, and delivered it for a possession to Reuben and Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. Keep therefore the words of this covenant, and fulfill them, that you may understand all that you do. Verse 6, bread and wine, an example, as your ordinary food. Confirmation of the covenant. You all stand this day before the Lord your God, your princes and tribes, and ancients and doctors, all the people of Israel, your children and your wives, and the stranger that abideth with thee in the camp, besides the hewers of wood, and them that bring water, that thou mayest pass in the covenant of the Lord thy God, and in the oath which this day the Lord thy God maketh with thee, that he may raise thee up a people to himself, and he may be thy God, as he hath spoken to thee, and as he swore to thy fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Neither with you only do I make this covenant, and confirm these oaths, but with all that are present and that are absent. Punishment for following false gods. For you know how we dwell in the land of Egypt. Now we have passed through the midst of nations, and passing through them, you have seen their abominations and filth, that is to say, their idols, wood and stone, silver and gold, which they worshipped. Lest perhaps there should be among you a man or a woman, a family or a tribe, whose heart is turned away this day from the Lord our God, to go and serve the gods of those nations, and there should be among you a root bringing forth guile and bitterness. And when he shall hear the words of this oath, he shall bless himself in his heart, saying, I shall have peace, and will walk on in the naughtiness of my heart, and the drunken may consume the thirsty. Verse 19. In the drunken. This is a Hebrew proverb spoken by the sinner, which seems to signify that he shall walk in his evil ways for a long time. Verse 20. And the Lord should not forgive him, but his wrath and jealousy against that man should be exceedingly enkindled at that time, and all the curses that are written in this volume should light upon him, and the Lord should blot out his name from under heaven, and utterly destroy him out of all the tribes of Israel, according to the curses that are contained in the book of the law and covenant. And the following generation shall say, and the children that shall be born hereafter, and the strangers that shall come from afar, seeing the plagues of that land, and the evils wherewith the Lord hath afflicted it, burning it with brimstone, and the heat of salt, so that it cannot be sown any more, nor any green thing grow therein, after the example of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Zeboim, which the Lord destroyed in his wrath and indignation. And all the nations shall say, Why hath the Lord done thus to this land? What meaneth this exceeding great heat of his wrath? And they shall answer, Because they forsook the covenant of the Lord, which he made with their fathers, when he brought them out of the land of Egypt. And they have served strange gods and adored them, whom they knew not, and for whom they had been assigned. Therefore the wrath of the Lord was kindled against this land, to bring upon it all the curses that are written in this volume. And he hath cast them out of their land in anger and in wrath, and in very great indignation, and hath thrown them into a strange land, as it is seen this day. Secret things to the Lord our God, things that are manifest to us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law. Verse 29. Secret things. An example, secret things belong to and are known to God alone. Our business must be to observe what he has revealed and manifested to us and to direct our lives accordingly. Chapter 30. God will be merciful to the repentant. Now when all these things shall be come upon thee, the blessing or the curse which I have set forth before thee, and thou shalt be touched with repentance of thy heart among all the nations into which the Lord thy God shall scatter thee, and shalt return to him, and obey his commandments as I command thee this day, thou and thy children with all thy heart, and with all thy soul. The Lord thy God will bring back again thy captivity, and will have mercy on thee, and gather thee again out of all the nations into which he scattered thee before. If thou be driven as far as the poles of heaven, the Lord thy God will fetch thee back from thence, and he will take thee to himself, and bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it. And blessing thee, he will make thee more numerous than were thy fathers. The Lord thy God will circumcise thy heart, and the heart of thy seed, that thou mayest love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. And he will turn all these curses upon the enemies, and upon them that hate and persecute thee. But thou shalt return and hear the voice of the Lord thy God, and shalt do all the commandments which I command thee this day. And the Lord thy God will make thee abound in all the works of thy hands, in the fruit of thy womb, and in the fruit of thy cattle, in the fruitfulness of thy land, and in the plenty of all things. For the Lord will return to rejoice over thee in all good things, as he rejoiced in thy fathers. Yet so if thou hear the voice of the Lord thy God, and keep his precepts and ceremonies, which are written in this law, and return to the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul. God's law in the hearts of the people. This commandment that I command thee this day is not above thee, nor far off from thee, nor is it in heaven, that thou shouldst say, which of us can go up to heaven to bring it unto us, and we may hear and fulfill it in work? Nor is it beyond the sea, that thou mayest excuse thyself and say, which of us can cross the sea, and bring it unto us, that we may hear and do that which is commanded? But the word is very nigh unto thee, in thy mouth and in thy heart, that thou mayest do it. The choice between life and death. Consider that I have set before thee this day life and good, and on the other hand death and evil, that thou mayest love the Lord thy God, and walk in his ways, and keep his commandments and ceremonies and judgments, and thou mayest live, and he may multiply thee, and bless thee in the land which thou shalt go in to possess. But if thy heart be turned away, so that thou wilt not hear, and being deceived with error thou adore strange gods and serve them, I foretell thee this day that thou shalt perish, and shalt remain but a short time in the land, to which thou shalt pass over the Jordan, and shalt go in to possess it. I call heaven and earth to witness this day, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Choose therefore life, that both thou and thy seed may live, and that thou mayest love the Lord thy God, and obey his voice, and adhere to him. For he is thy life, and the length of thy days, that thou mayest dwell in the land for which the Lord swore to thy fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that he would give it to them. Chapter 31. Moses announces his approaching death. And Moses went and spoke all these words to all Israel, and he said to them, I am this day 120 years old. I can no longer go out and come in, especially as the Lord also hath said to me, Thou shalt not pass over this Jordan. The Lord thy God then will pass over before thee. He will destroy all these nations in thy sight, and thou shalt possess them, and this Joshua shall go over before thee, as the Lord hath spoken. And the Lord shall do to them as he did to Sihon and Og, the kings of the Amorites, into their land, and shall destroy them. Therefore, when the Lord shall have delivered these also to you, you shall do in like manner to them, as I have commanded you. Do manfully and be of good heart. Fear not, nor be ye dismayed at their sight. For the Lord thy God, he himself is thy leader, and he will not leave thee nor forsake thee. Moses encourages Joshua. And Moses called Joshua, and said to him before all Israel, Take courage and be valiant, for thou shalt bring this people into the land which the Lord swore he would give to their fathers, and thou shalt divide it by lot. And the Lord, who is your leader, he himself will be with thee, for he will not leave thee nor forsake thee. Fear not, neither be dismayed. Moses gives the written law to the Levites, and Moses wrote this law, and delivered it to the priests, the sons of Levi, who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and to all the ancients of Israel. And he commanded them, saying, After 7 years, in the year of remission, in the feast of tabernacles, when all Israel came together to appear in the sight sight of the Lord thy God, in the place which the Lord shall choose. Thou shalt read the words of his law before all Israel in their hearing. And the people being all assembled together, both men and women, children and strangers, that are within thy gates, that hearing they may learn, and fear the Lord your God, and keep and fulfill all the words of this law, that their children also who are now ignorant may hear, and fear the Lord their God all the days that they live in the land whither you are going over the Jordan to possess it. Moses and Joshua appeared before the Lord. And the Lord said to Moses, Behold, the days of thy death are nigh. Call Joshua, and stand ye in the tabernacle of the testimony, that I may give him a charge. So Moses and Joshua went up and stood in the tabernacle of the testimony, and the Lord appeared there in the pillar of a cloud which stood in the entry of the tabernacle. The Lord foretells the sins of Israel. And the Lord said to Moses, Behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and this people rising up will go fornicating after strange gods in the land to which it goeth in to dwell. There will they forsake me, and will make void the covenant which I have made with them. And my wrath shall be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them, and will hide my face from them, and they shall be devoured. All evils and afflictions shall find them, so that they shall say in that day, In truth it is because God is not with me, that these evils have found me. But I will hide and cover my face in that day, for all the evils which they have done, because they have followed strange gods. Moses commanded to write a song. Now therefore write you this canticle, and teach the children of Israel, that they may know it by heart, and sing it by mouth. And this song may be unto me for a testimony among the children of Israel. For I will bring them into the land for which I swore to their fathers, that floweth with milk and honey. And when they have eaten and are full and fat, they will turn away their strange gods, and will serve them, and will despise me, and make void my covenant. And after many evils and afflictions shall have come upon them, this canticle shall answer them for a testimony, which no oblivion shall take away out of the mouths of their seed. For I know their thoughts, and what they are about to do this day, before that I bring them into the land which I have promised them. Moses therefore wrote the canticle, and taught it to the children of Israel. Joshua appointed to lead the Israelites. And the Lord commanded Joshua, the son of Nun, and said, Take courage, and be valiant, for thou shalt bring the children of Israel into the land which I have promised, and I will be with thee. The book of the law to be kept in the ark. Therefore, after Moses had wrote the words of this law in a volume, and finished it, he commanded the Levites who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, saying, Take this book, and put it in the side of the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that it may be there for a testimony against thee. For I know thy obstinacy and thy most stiff neck. While I am yet living, and going in with you, you have always been rebellious against the Lord. How much more when I shall be dead? Moses speaks to the wise men and elders. Gather unto me all the ancients of your tribes and your doctors, and I will speak these words in your hearing, and will call heaven and earth to witness against them. For I know that after my death you will do wickedly, and will quickly turn aside from the way that I have commanded you. And evils shall come upon you in the latter times, when you shall do evil in the sight of the Lord, to revoke him by the works of your hands. Moses therefore spoke in the hearing of the whole assembly of Israel the words of this canticle, and finished it even to the end. Chapter 32. The Canticle of Moses. Hear, O ye heavens, the things I speak. Let the earth give ear to the words of my mouth. Let my doctrine gather as the rain. Let my speech distill as the dew, as a shower upon the herb, and as drops upon the grass, because I will invoke the name of the Lord. Give ye magnificence to our God. The works of God are perfect, and all his ways are judgments. God is faithful and without any iniquity. He is just and right. They have sinned against him, and are none of his children in their filth. They are a wicked and perverse generation. Is this the return thou makest to the Lord, O foolish and senseless people? Is not he thy father that hath possessed thee, and made thee, and created thee? God's blessings. Remember the days of old. Think upon every generation. Ask thy father, and he will declare to thee. Thy elders, and they will tell thee. When the Most High divided the nations... When the Most High divided the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, he appointed the bounds of people according to the number of the children of Israel. But the Lord's portion is his people, Jacob the lot of his inheritance. He found him in a desert land, in a place of horror, in a vast wilderness. He led him about and taught him, and he kept him as the apple of his eye. As the eagle enticing her young to fly, and hovering over them, he carried his wings, and hath taken him, and carried him on his shoulders. The Lord alone was his leader, and there was no strange god with him. He set him upon high land, that he might eat the fruits of the fields, that he might suck honey out of the rock, and oil out of the heart of stone, butter of the herd, and milk of the sheep with the fat of lambs, and of the rams of the bread of Basan, and goats with the marrow of wheat, and might drink the purest blood of the grape. Sins of the people. The beloved grew fat and kicked. He grew fat and thick and gross. He forsook God, who made him, and departed from God his Savior. They provoked him by strange gods, and stirred him up to anger with their abominations. They sacrificed to devils, and not to gods whom they knew not. They were newly come up, whom their fathers worshipped not. Thou hast forsaken the God that begot thee, and hast forgotten the Lord that created thee. God's punishment. The Lord saw and was moved to wrath, because his own sons and daughters provoked him. And he said, I will hide my face from them, and will consider what their last end shall be, for it is a perverse generation and unfaithful children. They have provoked me that which was no God, and they have provoked me with that which was no God, and have angered me with their vanities. And I will provoke them with that which is no people, and will vex them with a foolish nation. A fire is kindled in my wrath, and shall burn even to the lowest hell, and shall burn the foundations of the mountains. I will heap evils upon them, and will spend my arrows among them. They shall be consumed with famine, and birds shall devour them with a most bitter bite. I will send the teeth of beasts upon them, with the fury of creatures that trail upon the ground, and of serpents. Without the sword shall lay them waste, and terror within, both the young man and the virgin, the sucking child with the man in years. I said, where are they? I will make the memory of them to cease from among men. But for the wrath of the enemies I have deferred it, lest perhaps their enemies might be proud, and should say, Our mighty hand, and not the Lord, hath done all these things. The foolishness of the sinful Israelites. They are a nation, without counsel and without wisdom. Oh, that they would be wise, and would understand, and would provide for their last end. How should one pursue after 1,000, and two chase 10,000? Was it not because their God has sold them, and the Lord had shut them up? For our God is not as their gods. Our enemies themselves are judges. Their vines are the vineyard of Sodom, and of the suburbs of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of gall, and their clusters most bitter. Their wine is the gall of dragons, and the venom of asps, which is incurable. Are not these things stored up with me, and sealed up in my treasures? Revenge is mine, and I will repay them in due time, that their foot may slide. The day of destruction is at hand, and the time makes haste to come. God will show mercy to them. The Lord will judge his people, and will have mercy on his servants. He shall see that their hand is weakened, and that they who were shut up have also failed, and that they remained are consumed. And he shall say, Where are their gods, in whom they trusted, of whose victims they ate the fat, and drank the wine of their drink offerings? Let them arise and help you, and protect you in your distress. See ye that I alone am, and there is no other God beside me. I will kill, and I will make to live. I will strike, and I will heal, and there is none that can deliver out of my hand. The Lord will destroy his enemies. I will lift up my hand to heaven, and I will say, I live forever. If I shall whet my sword as the lightning, and my hand take hold on judgment, I will render vengeance to my enemies, and repay them that hate me. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh of the blood of the slain, and of the captivity of the bare head of the enemies. Praise his people, ye nations, for he will revenge the blood of his servants, and will render vengeance to their enemies, and he will be merciful to the land of his people. Children shall be taught to obey the law. So Moses came and spoke all the words of this canticle in the ears of the people, and Joshua, the son of Nun, and he ended all these words speaking to all Israel. And he said to them, Set your hearts on all the words which I testify to you this day, which you shall command your children to observe and to do, and to fulfill all that is written in this law. For they are not commanded you in vain, but that every one should live in them, and that doing them you may continue a long time in the land whither you are going over the Jordan to possess it. God allows Moses to see Canaan. And the Lord spoke to Moses the same day, saying, Go up into this mountain Abiram, that is to say, of passages, unto Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, over against Jericho, and see the land of Canaan, which I will deliver to the children of Israel to possess, and die thou in the mountain. When thou art gone up into it, thou shalt be gathered to thy people, as Aaron thy brother died in Mount Hor, and was gathered to his people, because you trespassed against me in the midst of the children of Israel, at the waters of contradiction in Kadesh, of the desert of sin, and you did not sanctify me among the children of Israel. Thou shalt see the land before thee, which I will give to the children of Israel, but thou shalt not enter into it. Chapter 33. Moses blesses the tribes before his death. This is the blessing wherewith the man of God Moses blessed the children of Israel before his death. And he said, The Lord came from Sinai and from Seir. He rose up to us. He hath appeared from Mount Pharan, and with him thousands of saints, in his right hand a fiery law. He hath loved the people, all the saints are in his hands, and they that approach to his feet shall receive of his doctrine. Moses commanded us a law, the inheritance of the multitude of Jacob. He shall be king with the most right, the princes of the people being assembled with the tribes of Israel. Moses blesses Reuben. Let Reuben live and not die, and be he small in number. Moses blesses Judah. This is the blessing of Judah. Hear, O Lord, the voice of Judah, and bring him. Pardon me. Pardon me, one more. Pardon me, 2 more times. Moses blesses Judah. This is the blessing of Judah. Hear, O Lord, the voice of Judah, and bring him in unto his people. His hand shall fight for him, and he shall be his helper against his enemies. Moses blesses Levi. To Levi also he said, Thy perfection and thy doctrine be to thy holy man, whom thou hast proved to the temptation and judged at the waters of contradiction. Chapter 33, verse 8. Holy man, an example. Aaron and his successors in the priesthood. Verse 9. Who hath said to his father and to his mother, I do not know you, and to his brethren, I know you not, and their own children they have not known. They have kept thy words, and observed thy covenant, thy judgments, O Jacob, and thy law. Verse 9, clarification. Who hath said, It is the duty of the priestly tribe to prefer God's honor and service before all considerations of flesh and blood, so as to behave as strangers to their nearest akin, when these would withdraw them from the business of their calling. Verse 10. Thy judgments, O Jacob, and thy law, O Israel, they shall put license in thy wrath and holocaust upon thy altar. Bless, O Lord, his strength, and receive the works of his hands. Strike the backs of his enemies, and let them not that hate him rise. Moses blesses Benjamin. And to Benjamin he said, The beast beloved of the Lord shall dwell confidently in him. As in a bride chamber shall he abide all the day long, and between his shoulders shall he rest. Verse 12, clarification. Shall dwell. This seems to allude to the temple being built within the confines of the tribe of Benjamin. Verse 13. Moses blesses the children of Israel. To Joseph also he said, Of the blessing of the Lord be his land, of the fruits of heaven, and of the dew, and of the deep that lieth beneath, of the fruits brought forth by the sun and by the moon, of the tops of the ancient mountains, of the fruits of the everlasting hills, and of the fruits of the earth, and of the fullness thereof. The blessing of him that appeared in the bush come upon the head of Joseph, and upon the crown of the Nazarite among his brethren. His beauty as of the firstling of a bullock, his horns as the horns of a rhinoceros. With them shall he push the nations, even to the ends of the earth. These are the multitudes of Ephraim, and these the thousands of Manasseh. Verse 16, clarification. The Nazarite. See the note on Genesis chapter 49, verse 26, which would be back in when we read Genesis. Moses blesses Zabulon and Issachar. And to Zabulon he said, Rejoice, O Zabulon, in thy going out, and Issachar in thy tabernacles. They shall call the people to the mountain, there shall they sacrifice the victims of justice. Who shall suck as milk the abundance of the sea, and the hidden treasures of the sands? Moses blesses Gad. And to Gad he said, Blessed be Gad, in his breath he hath rested as a lion, and hath seized upon the arm and the top of the head. And he saw his preeminence, that in his portion the teacher was laid up, who was with the princes of the people, and did the justices of the Lord, and his judgment with Israel. Verse 21, clarification. He saw the preeminence of the tribe of Gad, to which this alludes, was their having the lawgiver Moses buried in their borders through the particular place, though the particular place was not known. Verse 22, Moses blesses Dan. To Dan also he said, Dan is a young lion, he shall flow plentifully from Basan. Moses blesses Naphtali. And to Naphtali he said, Naphtali shall enjoy abundance and shall be full of the blessings of the Lord. He shall possess the sea in the south. Verse 23, clarification. The sea, the lake of Gennesareth, which forms the southern extremity of the tribe of Naphtali. Verse 24, Moses blesses Aser. To Aser also he said, Let Aser be blessed with children, let him be acceptable to his brethren, and let him dip his foot in oil. His shoe shall be iron and brass, as the days of thy youth, so also shall thy old age be. Moses blesses all Israel. There is no other God like the God of the rightest. He that is mounted upon the heaven is thy helper. By his magnificence the clouds run hither and thither. His dwelling is above, and underneath are the everlasting arms. He shall cast out the enemy from before thee, and shall say, Be thou brought to naught. Verse 27, clarification. Underneath are the everlasting arms. Though the dwelling of God be above in heaven, his arms are always stretched out to help us here below. Verse 28. Israel shall dwell in safety and alone, the eye of Jacob in a land of corn and wine, and the heavens shall be misty like dew. Blessed art thou, Israel, who is like to thee, O people that art saved by the Lord? The shield of thy help and the sword of thy glory. Thy enemies shall deny thee, and shall tread upon their necks. Chapter 34. Moses sees the promised land. Then Moses went up from the plains of the Moab, upon against Nebo, to the top of Phasca, over against Jericho. And the Lord showed him all the land of Galaad, as far as Dan, and all Naphtali, and the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, and all the land of Judah unto the furthermost sea, and the south part, and the breadth of the plain of Jericho, the city of palm trees, as far as Segor. And the Lord said to him, This is the land for which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I will give it to thy seed. Thou hast seen it with thy eyes, and shalt not pass over to it. Death of Moses. And Moses the servant of the Lord died there, in the land of Moab, by the commandment of the Lord. Verse 5, clarification. Died there. This last chapter of Deuteronomy, in which the death of Moses is related, was written by Joshua or by some of the prophets after the death of Moses. Verse 6. And he buried him in the valley of the land of Moab, over against Fugor, and no man hath known of his sepulchre until this present day. Verse 6, clarification. He buried him, an example, by the ministry of angels, and would have the place of his burial unknown, lest the Israelites, who are so prone to idolatry, might worship him with divine honors. Verse 7. Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eye was not dim, neither were his teeth moved. And the children of Israel mourned for him in the plains of Moab 30 days. And the days of their mourning, which they mourned for Moses, were ended. Joshua succeeds Moses. And Joshua, the son of Nun, was filled with the spirit of wisdom, because Moses had laid his hands upon him. And the children of Israel obeyed him, and did as the Lord commanded Moses. Praise of Moses. And there arose no more a prophet in Israel like unto Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face, in all the signs and wonders which he sent by him to do in the land of Egypt to Pharaoh, and to all his servants, and into his whole land, and all the mighty hand and great miracles which Moses did before all Israel. Whew. Thank you very much for joining me for Deuteronomy chapters 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, and 34. Join me next week as we start Joshua, and we will start with chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope that you all happen to have a wonderful week, and God bless.